In 2013, American customs agents started confiscating a cheese at the border. The reason? Live bugs on the rind. France called it a cultural attack. The cheese had been made exactly the same way since the reign of Louis XIV. The FDA gave no warning. Whales were seized at ports, importers panicked, and the entire cheese-eating world had explained to the United States that the bugs were the point. The cheese is Mimolette, and it is one of the 10 we are covering today. Welcome back to French Gastronomy. Last time we went from Brie to Mont d'Or. 10 cheeses, one episode. Today 10 more. Some are older than France itself. One was invented by a farmer watching mold-grown bread. And one Charles de Gaulle ate every day of his childhood. Mimolette. Mimolette looks wrong. It is bright orange like a cannonball. Actually, it is sometimes called the boulet de Lille, the cannonball of Lille. The color comes from annatto, a natural plant dye. The rind is cratered, rough, almost lunar. The texture is the work of cheese mites, microscopic creatures that burrow onto the surface as it ages. They are intentional, they are controlled, they create the flavor. The FDA decided in 2013 that a rind with more than 6 mites per square inch was a health violation. French cheesemaker had been doing exactly this since the 1600s. Since before the United States existed, the ban was eventually lifted. Mimolette came back. The mites never left. Maroilles. The north of France does not get enough credit for its food. Maroilles is a square washed rind cheese from the Aveno, and it has been made since 962 AD. That is the written record. Monks from the Abbey of Maroilles created it. They were given permission by Hugues Capet, the man who founded the French royal dynasty, to refine the technique. Charles de Gaulle grew up near Maroilles. He ate it his whole childhood. He described it as the most honest food he knew. It smells aggressive, yes, obviously, but the taste is milder than the smell. Sweet, salty, the kind of thing you understand immediately if you grew up with it. I personally tasted it. It is definitely smelly. Saint-Nectaire. Louis XIV had a cheese he called the King of Cheeses, before Talleyrand had a chance to organize a competition. The cheese was Saint-Nectaire. It comes from the Auvergne, volcanic plateau, mineral-rich soil, river-fed by ancient lava flows. The geology goes directly into the cheese. The rind is aged on rice straw, which gives it a gray and orange crust. The inside is smooth, almost buttery, with a hazelnut finish that locals say comes from the volcanic terroir itself. That is not a romantic story, that is science. The mineral content of the milk changes based on what the cows eat, and the cows eat what grows in volcanic soil. Louis XIV got that right, Beaufort. One wheel of Beaufort requires 450 liters of milk. That is the milk of roughly 4 to 5 cows for an entire day. The wheel weighs 45 kilograms. It is a mountain cheese, Savoie, the High Alps, and it is called the Prince of Gruyère, which is not wrong, but the French do not love the comparison. Beaufort has a concave heel, a distinctive curved edge that separates it from every other mountain cheese visually. Napoleon took it on the campaign. It does not melt like an ordinary cheese, it flows. That is why it became the base of fondue and gratin savoyard. Obviously, there is a reason the Alps invented fondue. You have 450 liters of milk turning into a wheel, you need to get through the winter. Nothing is wasted. Ossau-Iraty. The Pyrenees have been making this cheese for 3,000 years. That is not a figure of speech. Archaeological traces of sheep milk cheese production in the Basque region date to the Neolithic era. Ossau-Iraty is a hard-pressed sheep milk cheese. One of the only 2 sheep milk AOP is in France and the only one in the mainland. It comes in 2 forms, fermier, farm-made, aged on mountain pasture, and laitier, dairy-made, more consistent. The raw milk version has a flavor that is genuinely difficult to describe to someone who has not tasted it. Sweet, grassy, slightly nutty, with a finish that lingers. That is not cheese. That is 3,000 years of one place. Fourme d'Ambert. Fourme d'Ambert is 1,700 years old. There are written references to it from the 4th century AD, which means it predates the fall of Rome. It is a tall, cylindrical blue cheese from the Auvergne, and it may be the oldest continuously produced cheese in France. The monks of the region were aging it in basalt caves while the Roman Empire was still deciding what to do with Gaul. The flavor is mild for Bleu, gentler than Roquefort, creamier, almost sweet. That mildness is what kept it alive. A cheese that was too aggressive would not have survived 1700 years old of peasant farming. Fourme d'Ambert survived because everyone could eat it. That is not a flow, that is its whole story. Bleu d'Auvergne. In 1854, a farmer named Antoine Roussel noticed that the mold growing on his rye bread was the same mold he was seeing on his cheeses. He did something no one had done deliberately before. He harvested that mold, grew it on the bread, and inoculated his cheese with it. Then he pierced the wheel with needles to let air in. The way the Roquefort caves did naturally, Bleu d'Auvergne was the result. The first French blue cheese created by design, not accident. Obviously, the instinct to turn a bread mold into a cheese is not normal. But Roussel was from the Auvergne, and the Auvergne does not waste anything. Pont-l'Évêque. Normandy has a lot of cheeses. Camembert is the famous one, but Pont-l'Évêque is the old one. It has been made since the 12th century, documented in Norman monasteries, traded at markets along the Seine. It is square, washed with brine, pungent, sticky. The monk called it angelote, small angel. It is hard to imagine why. The rind has an orange-gold color from the washing, and the inside is soft, almost runny when perfectly ripe. It became an AOC in 1972, which is late for something this old. For 700 years, nobody felt the need to protect it. It just survived on its own. Brie de Melun. We covered Brie de Melun in part 1, the diplomat, the Vienna cheese competition, the cheese that nearly got Louis XVI arrested. But there is an older Brie, Brie de Melun. Predates Brie de Melun by centuries. It is smaller, sharper, more intense. The technique is different. No rennet, only lactic fermentation. Slower, more acidic, more complex. When Brie de Melun is creamy and mild, Brie de Melun is funky and assertive. It is the one cheesemaker will tell you is the real ancestor. Brie de Melun won Vienna. Brie de Melun existed before anyone thought to hold a competition. Abondance. Abondance comes from one valley in Haute-Savoie, the Abondance Valley, obviously. The cows that produce its milk must spend a minimum of 150 days per year on mountain pasture above 900 meters. That rule is in the AOP specification. It is not optional. The cheese has been made by monks since the 14th century. The Abbey of Saint-Maurice-d'Agon has records going back to 1381. Its wheel has a concave heel like Beaufort, but smaller. The rind is brownish orange, the paste is golden, and the flavor is complex. Fruity, grassy, with the kind of depth you only get when the cows earn it. That is not a metaphor. Altitudes change the milk, always. 20 cheeses now, across 2 episodes. France has over 1,000. Obviously, we're not done. Part 3 is coming, and that one goes deeper. The regional obscurities, the one that almost died. The one protected by 2 farmers in a very specific cave. Leave a comment, which one of these 10 surprised you the most? And if there is a French cheese you want us to cover, tell me. I read everything. Subscribe if you want part 3. See you on the next one.